than say in the comics, because there's
which is wonderful, delightful.
In the latest Superman comics, I used to read them for a while. They're not very well written, unfortunately, but at least in my opinion. But there was one of the ones I really liked. Superman's fighting this fire guy, and the fire guy is like throwing fireballs at like all around Metropolis, and Superman's like, I have to get in the way of each fireball and take the hit because I don't want them to hit the buildings and kill innocent people. And I'm like, that's possible for that Superman, because that Superman is insanely high powered. But in the movie, he seemed like he was still pretty powerful. But you don't I can't see this guy like shrugging off a nuclear missile. You know what I mean? Or something like that, because he had trouble holding up like the oil rig.
He got blocked by that train partway through a fight.
I thought that was a really good stylistic choice for this film, and I'll tell you why.
So did I.
Exactly. Because one of the main problems I have with the character of Superman is that he is invincible. Like, there is no getting around him. So, I don't know. From my standpoint, and that's why I judged alter egos instead of the hero, but on the character as a whole, is because I like weaknesses. I like seeing where they're weak and where they can be, gotten at, and not just through other people, which is cliche at this point. But I liked how, yes, he was Kryptonian, and yes, the yellow sun and all that thing, but he really did have a real weakness in this movie. He wasn't, invincible. He did struggle with it, and I appreciated that, because once you take out the element that he can be destroyed, the ending of the movie is inevitable. He's going to win.
Yeah.
So, unless there's a struggle, unless, you make me, plausibly believe that there's a chance he won't win, I'm kind of uninterested.
That was always my biggest problem with Superman. Now, we're going to take a quick break now, and we will be back with more talk about superhero movies in general, likely with a focus on Superman, because it seems to be our...
actually, I want to talk about...
we'll do Spider-Man as well.
I want to talk
Batman,
I want to talk about my favorite Batman movie.
Something more Marvel would also be fun.
Yeah.
Then we'll do Spider-Man after Batman, all right?
Spawn and maybe Gru and stuff like that.
It's Sunday morning, and you just woke up feeling like the Walking Dead. It's nothing dangerous. It's just a hangover. You can combat this mental malaise by tuning into CHMR at 10 a.m. every Sunday morning for the Sunday Morning Hangover Cure. It's your perfect prescription of medicinal music lovingly mixed to cure the worst case of post-Saturday night zombie-itis. That's the Sunday Morning Hangover Cure with your host, Terry Parsons, every Sunday, 10 a.m. and only on 93.5 CHMR FM.
Daybreak Healthy Baby Club is a free support group for pregnant youth ages 21 and under. Information on pregnancy is provided and discussed along with a meal and a nutritional supplement certificate. The group meets twice a week on Tuesdays from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. and Thursdays from 1 to 3 p.m. Registration is required. Please call Crystal or Florence at 726-8373.
Real time. Real audio. Real radio. www.mun.ca/CHMR.
And we're back here on 93.5 CHMR FM, and this is the Aperture, a weekly hour-long discussion of all topics geek culture. I'm one of your hosts, Rory DC.
And I'm Adam the Porch Knight.
And I'm Penny.
Our local comic expert, I guess. Well, that's me, but she likes superhero movies, so we brought her in. So just before we left, we were talking about Superman, but before that, we were talking about our favorite Batman movies, and we never got around to me, and I'm highly offended, so I'm saying mine now.
All right, go ahead.
Favorite Batman movies? Live action, definitely The Dark Knight, because it's like one of the best movies ever made.
Okay.
I'm just saying, from the point, I've never seen a better... the Joker summed it up at the end of the movie where he said, "This is what happens when you see an unstoppable force meet an immovable object." I've never really felt like that much, like there was that big of a rivalry between two characters in a movie before, like in Iron Man or in Spider-Man, wherever. Yeah, you have they're villains, they're always fighting, but I never felt like there was that kind of connection between, like, they were never seen, like, I don't know, Joker just seemed to be that Joker seemed to be the absolute perfect match for that Batman. That was the best hero and villain I've ever seen in any movie. In any live action movie, I will admit, like, that duo together. I honestly don't think they'll top it in a very long time.
Yeah, that's interesting, because for that trilogy, it had a very interesting progression of villains because Ra's al Ghul was obviously, the mentor who was at the end easily overcome.
Yeah.
The Joker was perfect match, like you said. It was almost equal the entire time. And yet Bane was like the great mountain he had to overcome. So that's interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought my favorite was actually Ra's al Ghul. Partially, I mean, the great thing about all those villains is they're all acted amazingly.
Oh yeah, Heath Ledger is in the Joker performance is one of my favorite performances ever.
He's very good. I thought Liam Neeson did a good job of the Ra's al Ghul, which is, I liked the character combination in terms of making those two characters the one guy. I thought it was an interesting choice because I wasn't sure how I would feel about it, but I mean, in the end, it worked out really well, right?
Because the way it's pronounced Raish.
Well, actually, there's disagreement upon that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All the guys behind the sort of Batman comics video games pronounce it Raish. There's some argument whether, given those letters sounded together, where it actually might be pronounced Raz.
Oh, okay. Well, I think Raish sounds cooler, but anyway, it doesn't matter.
I think Raish sounds cooler. I think Ra's al Ghul sounds cooler.
Yeah.
That's my experience with that. In the video games, you'll notice they will say Raish, and as well in the Red Hood, if I recall.
Which is my favorite Batman movie ever. It's actually one of my favorite movies of all time. It might be number 4 now. Batman Under the Red Hood. It's an animated movie. It's about Batman's has had several Robins over the course of his long comic run. The second one, so the first one was Dick Grayson, who ended up becoming Nightwing. The second one was Jason Todd. Jason Todd died at the hands of the Joker, then comes back through magic, essentially.
Yeah.
And he becomes a supervillain. Honestly, check out this movie. It's really, even for, I know people are like, oh, animated movies are never as good as live action.
It's really good.
It's really, the voice acting is superb, the animation is superb. Everything about that movie is really, really, really darn good.
And interesting, it's good that you brought up the magic thing.
Yeah.
I want to comment on that. I thought that the fact that they didn't try to explain it with some sort of weird science made it feel a lot more plausible than this sort of Superman thing that they did with Man of Steel, where they tried to give that terraformer some science.
Yeah, they were like,
disaster.
I thought the one that was really weird when they tried to explain why Superman is really strong. It's like, his Kryptonian skin cells are absorbing all of the radiation he's bathing in, and then Earth's gravity is not as strong, but it's a more nourishing environment. I'm like, okay, that doesn't explain how he can fly and shoot laser beams out of his eyes.
Didn't explain the laser beams.
What?
No, it didn't explain the laser beams. That was kind of weird.
That's when they try to put, and they also had one of that legendary thing that bothers me, which is one of their all-purpose scientists.
Oh yeah, the scientist.
The scientist.
That's in every single show. For example, Tony Stark, scientist.
It means it was derived from originally something that came up in television with doctors, where you have every kind of doctors who are biologists, and they're also practicing first responders. It just doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
They do everything, and sort of have the same thing with scientists, where they have the guy who's a chemist and a physicist and an engineer. With Tony Stark, it makes a little more plausible sense because he's a genius. But and he generally does focus on engineering, which is delightful. He never, like in Good Will Hunting. Have you ever seen Good Will Hunting?
No, actually.
He's the idea is Matt Damon, the janitor, is a math genius, but he's also a history genius. It's just totally absurd. He's math. Leave it at that.
I will say there's a perfect example of that in a comic. There's a limited edition comic run called Cry for Justice. It was absolutely awful. Don't ever read it. But there's a bit in that with Ray Palmer, the Atom. They have this corpse and we need you to dissect it. He's like, I can do that. I'm like, no, you can't. You're not a biologist. You're a molecular physicist. Granted, he probably does know a little bit about the human body, but Justice League doesn't have a corner. They don't have it's the Justice League. It makes sense that they would have somebody like that on call, just we have this weird corpse here. Do you want to come up and take a look? I mean, they're the biggest peacekeeping, life-saving organizations in the world. They don't have a corner. I'm just pointing out it's really weird.
It's totally absurd.
So they just say Ray Palmer do it. I'm like, but he's a physicist. He doesn't that's not his field.
He may have taken an introductory course in biology, which means he knows no more than Adam does about dissecting a corpse or performing an autopsy or whatever the situation
I've watched
was.
great quits of Surgeon Simulator. That's basically whatever
there
I
you
know.
go.
Like, God help you if you never need me to perform surgery, because I'll be like breaking your ribs open with a hammer.
Lauren in Lost Girl is another perfect example.
Yeah.
The doctor that just does everything.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Take that character out. Some kind of gravity weapon. That's all he could figure out, really, with all those sciences, general purpose stuff, under his